Quote, a big part of the country, even the southern states, is under massive attack from snow and freezing cold. Global warming, anyone? End quote. My goodness, snow and freezing weather in February? That is just completely unheard of. In December 2013, he wrote that, quote, Denver, Minnesota, and others are bracing for some of the coldest weather on record. What are the global warming geniuses saying about this? End quote. And as a final example, in July of 2014, he wrote, quote, record cold temperatures in July, 20 to 30 degrees colder than normal. What the hell happened to global warming? End quote. And he's not the only member of the government to make these kinds of arguments. As another example, Senator James Inhofe, Republican of Oklahoma, notoriously brought a snowball into the Senate, as if this is evidence of anything.
Of national attention, and in case we have forgotten, because we keep hearing that 2014 has been the warmest year on record, I asked the chair, you know what this is? It's a snowball. And that's just from outside here. So it's very, very cold out, very unseasonal. So here, Mr. President, catch this.
Take that, climate scientists. Maybe next time he'll astonish his captive onlookers by sticking his tongue to a frozen metal pole or something. That would really get the point across. Could you imagine someone trying to publish such ludicrous fallacies in a reputable climatology journal? By Donald J. Trump and James Inhofe et al., published in Climate Dynamics 2018. Why the ice on my windshield disproves the fake news global warming con. Subtitled, Climate Change Hoaxsters Have Nothing to Say Now, after I showed them my snowball. Hashtag Make Science Great Again. I bet something as brilliant as this would just sail through the peer review process and make it to the front page of Nature in no time. In fact, it might even warrant a Nobel Prize or two. Here's the problem with this line of reasoning. When we talk about global warming, we're talking about a long-term trend here. Within this long-term trend of increasing temperatures, there could be record-setting cold temperatures on certain days of the year. Even if it's 20 degrees colder on Cinco de Mayo than it's been in the past 100 years, the recorded temperature on one day out of the 365 in a year just isn't going to have that much of an impact on the yearly average temperature. This year, it was the coldest Cinco de Mayo on record is not mutually exclusive with it was the hottest year on record, because the big picture trend depends upon what happened on every day of the year considered collectively. By analogy, imagine that I'm a financially responsible person who carefully tracks his spending. On one particular day of this year, I spent more money than I have on any other day of my entire life. Chances are in this country, that means I was paying for either college textbooks or some kind of minor medical visit. What does this extravagant spending on one day of the year tell us about my overall income and general saving habits? What does it tell us about how much I've managed to save up this year, and how this compares to previous years? Absolutely nothing, because this is just one data point viewed in isolation. This argument becomes even more absurd when you consider that many of these record-setting cold weather events are taking place in restricted geographical areas. For example, it was a major news story that New Year's Eve of 2017 was one of the coldest in the eastern US in recorded history. And not surprisingly, these headlines prompted Donald Trump to pick up his phone with his grubby fingers to tweet that, quote, in the East, it could be the coldest New Year's Eve on record. Perhaps we could use a little bit of that good old global warming that our country, but not other countries, was going to pay trillions of dollars to protect against, end quote. Okay, it's one of the coldest New Year's Eves on record in the eastern United States. What about the western United States? What about South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, and the rest of the world? This is pure laziness on Donald Trump's part. He could have just called some of his buddies in Russia to learn firsthand what temperatures were like over there. Here we see global temperature data from January 1st, 2018, and while yes, the eastern United States is noticeably colder than the baseline temperatures, much of the globe is clearly warmer than these baseline temperatures. This is why it's important to ask, what are the temperature measurements like globally? There could be record-setting cold in one region of the globe, yet the global average could be normal or even above normal. In fact, I see no reason why there couldn't be record-setting cold in, say, the eastern United States, yet at the exact same time, record-setting heat in sub-Saharan Africa and Western Australia. Looking at just one region of one country doesn't tell us anything about what's happening globally, similar to how just looking at one day doesn't tell us anything about what's happening long-term. And sometimes it's not even record-setting cold weather that prompts arguments of this sort. Recall that Trump tweeted in February 2014 that, quote, "A big part of the country, even the southern states, is under massive attack from snow and freezing cold. Global warming, anyone?" End quote. He's basically just saying here, it's very cold and snowy outside, even down south. Okay, so what? What exactly do these people think that global warming means? That the second the temperature starts increasing, we should never experience a cold or snowy day again? Apparently, the entire world must become a barren, dusty, sun-baked wasteland before people like this will concede that global warming is taking place. How about stepping out of the realm of personal experience and short-term weather events and just taking a look at the global temperature measurements over time? NASA temperature recordings since 1880 demonstrate a very clear upward trend over time. Oh yeah, well did you know that on one particular day in 2002, it was very cold in the southwestern United States? To discount this clear long-term data because of isolated cold weather events is to abandon rationality. And why do we never hear the reverse argument from these people? Why does Donald Trump never argue that since it's 105 degrees in April, that must prove global warming to be true? Why do they never shine a spotlight on record-setting hot weather events, which there are plenty of? Of course, if we were just looking at one particular weather event, the reverse logic would be equally as junky, but at least they'd be consistent. People like Trump are selectively focusing on only the data that they mistakenly think supports their case, and ignoring anything that contradicts it. There is a way to look at record-setting highs and lows rationally, and that's to look at the totality of the data, as opposed to just cherry-picking a few points in a self-serving manner. As we read on climaterealityproject.org, quote, "While we have seen some daily all-time lows for a smattering of locations in the US, these pale in comparison with the number of all-time highs we've seen over the past year. In fact, the record highs have outpaced the record lows 61-7, i.e. 9 times more often, consistent with what we expect to see as the globe continues to warm," end quote. I'm on Patreon. There's a link in the description if you'd like to support my content. I would really appreciate it. There's also social media links in there if you want to follow me there. I'm trying to build up some of those followings. I would really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe for more videos if you haven't already. Hit the bell, hit the like button, post a fucking comments. All that fun stuff that's standard on YouTube. You know the fucking drill. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this.